I mean, we can.
Why, hello, and welcome to issue 693 of Geek in the City of Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran, coming to you live from the Guardian Game Studios.
And I'm Binarita, also live inside of Guardian Games.
And I am Cable Hashitani. I am technically a lich, so
you are unalive.
I am unalive, also still coming to you from the Guardian Game Studio.
Excellent,
That's right.
excellent.
And he has knowledge of the Twilight baseball game, as observed by the Oregonians, one-time Mike Russell.
Yeah.
Still a artist in Portland, Oregon, and long-distance runner, I believe.
He is, last I checked. I think he had some surgery.
He did. And, of course, Eternal Point of Lust for Byron Beck.
Yeah.
But,
well,
I think that was a bit. Either way.
Was it? I mean, a lot of what Byron does is a bit.
Yeah.
But, I think some of those feelings were real.
I mean, sure.
Mike is kind of dreamy.
He's a sweet spirit. He's a nice guy.
He is. No, but
I realized that sounded really catty. He's a sweet spirit. No, he's a nice guy. Like, oh my God. Someone's gonna go on the fucking Twitter like, do you know the Durans got beef with Mike? No, we've always gotten along fine. We're great. He's great.
No, you did catch yourself.
I know. I
calling
realized
someone as a sweet spirit is like, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, maybe worse.
is that the Northwestern equivalent of bless your heart?
Oh,
I don't know,
know.
I don't know that it's Northwest specific.
Yeah, I feel like sweet spirit's a very more generic one.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
West
feel like
Coast?
Maybe.
But I've only ever lived on the West Coast, so it's hard for me to judge. I
there-
always kind of thought of it as like a. Oh no, I'm thinking of Stay Sweet in yearbooks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I never had that. I always had the. Oh, what were the two things I used to get most in my yearbooks? It was
Stay cool.
Stay Cool. I
Mhm.
feel like that one's an eternal one. The one that went for 2 years was really fashionable, at least in Lassen High.
Wait, can I guess?
Yeah, do it.
Was it too cool to be forgotten?
No, but one or two people did that.
I hate it so much.
No, what was it? It was fun. It was real, but it wasn't real fun.
Oh,
That's
Huh.
the one. Yeah.
Huh. I got God, I don't remember because I actually destroyed all my yearbooks before I moved to Portland.
wow.
I think my mom still has mine. I have no desire to hang on to them.
Yeah, I tossed them all in a dumpster.
Multiple? Did you do one every year? I think I only have one.
Oh, I had one every year, and then before I moved to Portland, I chucked them all. I destroyed or got rid of so much of my own personal memorabilia before I moved to Portland because it was nothing I wanted to carry with me,
That's a good
literally or
point.
figuratively.
Yeah, I guess I kept some newspaper clippings because I was really proud of the stuff I did in theater, which I guess in a way is kind of like the high school quarterback that fucking still keeps the touchdown headline or whatever. But it was just
Sure.
It wasn't like that was where I'd peaked. It was good memories. And to this day, the theater program at my high school is still my only real good memory of high school that I can look back fondly of and tell stories about that don't make me cringe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think my memorabilia for my hometown fits in a shoebox.
Okay. Well,
it's not that yeah. Oh, this is a completely off tangent thing, but I went through a period of time for
Sorry.
about a
that was almost the worst link to give.
oops.
I almost gave the link I send you guys to join the stream.
Oh no.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Although you're the host. So
I
you
mean,
can
fuck
just
it.
not
Make
let
it
anybody
make it a party. Who wants to host the show with us? Whoop, 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 whoop.
Mhm.
That'd be crazy.
You were saying.
I was
Sorry.
saying that I went through a period of reinvention for I feel like what was it over a decade where I was just reinventing whoever I was over and over and over and over again.
I did that for about a decade. It was just like having my life get fucked up every couple of years and having to start over.
Hey,
See, I think that was. I mean, granted, most of this most people just refer to this as it was your 20s. But
Sometimes we're older when that happens.
sometimes.
No, but when it happens a lot, like in like
right.
short succession, that's a younger person's thing, I guess. At some point, I don't know, you figure out your shit, or you figure out the right people to have in your life so that doesn't keep happening to you.
In theory.
In theory.
And I know that that's not the case for everybody. Some fucking weirdos not only marry their high school sweetheart, but like are still happy together in their 40s. I'm like, you're a fucking weirdo, but good for you. I don't understand.
I mean, if it works for them, it works.
If it works for them, yeah. I knew a guy that's kind of what he did. I mean, he had a crush on her through high school and didn't say anything until they were in their mid-20s. Like that's when he finally, neither of them had left the town. And even when we were in high school, when we were talking about what we want to do in our lives, he was like, I'll stay here, get a nice job, maybe at the prison, raise a couple. Like that's what he wanted to do.
Weird.
And, some people might say that is a lack of ambition, and maybe, but also it could just be.
Oh, there we go. There's examples of that in the chat.
Oh,
see, look at that. You're calling
Congratulations, weirdo.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, look at that. You're calling our listeners weirdos. Our listeners are weirdos.
That's why they listen to us.
That's why they listen to us. My bass sounds fantastic.
It does.
Once I was in my 20s, I learned about these guys that I had crushes on in high school. Turns out that they had also had crushes on me, but no one fucking pulled a fucking trigger. Long story short, I wish I'd never learned that information.
Yeah. I never learned that information. I moved.
So did I.
And also I didn't go back. I didn't contact people. My one failed attempt at reconnecting like that was trying to go back to my 20-year high school reunion. Mm-hmm. I was a week early.
Whoops.
So you had a lot of fun.
Darn.
I did. I actually did. Because I took Merrick, and we had been dating for maybe 2 months at this point.
Right.
It's like, hey, you want to go to a road trip with me across Eastern Oregon into Eastern Oregon and do this? We ended up just staying with my uncle, and he had an above-ground pool. It's hot, so
sweet.
We just swam and drank the entire time. It was great.
Fantastic. Let's go do that now.
My high school reunion, my 20-year reunion should have been last spring. A year ago.
No, but there was no.
Nobody reached out to you? Do you know why?
Because I've moved 70,000 times since I left.
Because
high school.
they start doing it all through Facebook.
Yeah.
And I am not on any Facebook groups. IRT high school.
I got invited to the 5th, which is weird. Who goes to a 5th year high school reunion?
People who peaked in high school,
I guess. And then I've never been to one. I was invited to the 10th. I heard about the 20th, but even the year I graduated, my graduating class, it was notoriously the laziest, could not give a fuck, we do not care class that I think that high school had ever had. Like Ryan's in the chat, he can probably back this up. You know how like in high schools, like usually the senior class like wins all the spirit rallies because it's like it's their time, whatever that kind of shit. We never did. Ever. We lost, the senior class lost everything. Whenever there was like, freshmen cheer, sophomores cheer, class of seniors cheer. It was like, like we just didn't give a shit. Like nobody in that class fucking cared. Which would explain a lot because I feel like the year my graduating class has the least amount who stayed and or went back to Susanville. It was like a whole class. It was like, nope, we're done. We're gone. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of assumed that if there had been a reunion, they would have sent something to my home of record, which would be my parents' house. They still live there.
Yeah,
I guess.
It always depends on who the person is doing this or the group of people doing it. If they're people that you didn't get along with or you weren't on their radar in high school.
No, you know what? I'll tell you what it is.
Sure.
Is maybe they did put more work into telling people about this reunion. Assuming it happened, it was a year ago. I don't know. Maybe. Well, no, it's fucking Phoenix. They didn't give a shit about the pandemic. But
do you know you can rate your high school
nobody
on Facebook?
nobody fucking knew me. I changed high schools a year and a half before graduation, so I developed fuck all for relationships.
Right.
I wasn't in any clubs or teams really, so who the fuck even knew I wasn't there? Nobody.
We know.
I'm going to go on their Facebook page and give them a review. You can review your school. Do you recommend? No, I don't.
All right. Well,
one star.
Says this 40-something-year-old man who doesn't go here.
Yep, that's fine.
He doesn't even go here.
Doesn't even go here anymore.
He definitely can't eat with us.
That's right. Well, we had open campus. You didn't have to. You could just leave whenever you want.
Nice.
Yeah. Not that I did. I had to go through D&D books.
We had open campus, but you couldn't do it until you were, I think, at least a junior.
I think your freshman year you weren't supposed to leave campus, but also
For
they
sure.
didn't check.
Mm.
So yeah. Anyway, hey, this is flashback talk or whatever.
Yeah, clearly.
Good times.
Old folks talk. On
Old
Geek in the
folks
City.
time.
So what are we actually going to talk about on the show tonight?
We're going to talk about old folks. Picard.
We're going to
I
talk
mean,
about.
you're
We're going
not
to talk
wrong.
about all our space daddies.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Not like daddies, just our the space fathers that we have all come to
galactic
know and
father
love.
figures. How's that? And mothers and
very
whatever.
Nice, very nice.
Riker is still a part of this equation, so
Yeah,
you
that's
could
true.
have meant the other thing as well.
Good point. Good point.
Uh-huh.
All right, but we'll talk about that separately.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're going to talk about Picard season 3 and season 3 of The Mandalorian, right?
Yep.
Or is it 4?
Yes.
Yeah. And season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. The trick is there was that episode and a half. That was The Mandalorian in the middle of Boba Fett. So
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, it's been 4 seasons. No, it hasn't.
Mm.
No.
It's been, there was season 1, season 2, season 2.5, and then season 3.
By the
Right.
way, you better make galactic father figures the name of the episode, or I will be upset.
Oh, well, let me email myself. I mean, I've already named it the live one. I can't fix that.
That's fine.
They're all live.
Picard and the Mandalorian makes it sound like it's a
sitcom?
CBS special movie of the week.
Oh.
Get ready for Picard and the Mandalorian.
Thursdays at 7.
Dangerous 2.
Driving a Barracuda.
That's right. Goddamn right. He's driving a Barracuda, but with nacelles.
Yep.
Space Barracuda.
Oh,
Space Akuda.
Getting into adventures.
Space Akuda. Great, you guys got. This is the show now.
So which one do we want to go with? Do we want to go in order? Like Mando was first. And
Yeah,
then
let's
Picard?
go. Let's go with Mandalorian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure that we've all watched it. Yes.
Yeah, by the way, this is going to be super spoilers. I don't want to get a fucking comment like, hey, I listened to the show, spoilers. I'm like, okay. It's in the title.
Spoiler warning now. If you haven't watched these shows yet, press pause on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch them. Come back.
Yes.
If you're listening live, I don't want you to go away, but you're now listening at your own risk.
But you're pot committed. Yeah. So, yeah, if you didn't remember the part where Bo-Katan dies, I'm sorry.
Please don't leave us.
That's going to be real hard. Anyway, so we can talk season finale and a little bit of how we felt about the whole thing.
Yeah, we did the whole theme and stuff. I mean, this was
because I feel like we ought to also touch on the thing that made a bunch of, I shouldn't say a bunch. It made a section of the fan base mad.
Okay.
Which was the appearance of Lizzo and Jack Black.
People were mad at that.
Oh yeah.
Some people just don't want joy in their life.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what
just
it is.
what it comes down to.
Like if you had a modicum of fame and that fame made either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau call you up and say, hey, you want to be in a Star Wars Are you going to say no?
Fuck
Yeah,
no.
nobody fucking
No,
says no to that.
don't lie.
Also, at this point, you should just know that cameos are a thing now. They just are. So if you're still watching and you're mad about the cameos, I think that's on you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
did it take me out for a split second?
Sure.
Yeah.
But
But
it's just
whatever.
a good time show.
That is the only complaint that I've heard that I'm like, I can get behind. It took me out of the show. I'm like, okay. It's like
Yeah.
they are so famous that I suddenly went, wait, why is there a Lizzo in my Star Wars? Why is
Right.
there Jack Black in my Star Wars?
There's a
It's like
Yeah.
this is very confusing. It's like, great. Now that you've got that out of your system, go rewatch the episode and go, hey, they were actually talking about some very important points that don't get touched on in Star Wars enough, which is droid rights,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
imperial reparations,
Mm-hmm.
what an actual society looks like if you automate all jobs of menial importance and everyone suddenly has time on their hand. Let's talk about those things, huh?
Right.
'Cause-
Also, no one got all butthurt when they saw Christopher Lloyd because
That-
everyone loves Christopher Lloyd.
And Christopher Lloyd is a longtime character actor, so we just go,
That's true.
eh.
Mm.
Well, I actually talked to people who were like, that was Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah.
One, yes, he ages,
Right.
unlike Paul Rudd.
I think it
And-
was, and this kind of, like, it made me tear up really quickly, but like, as everyone knows, I tear up at everything. After his appearance on The Mandalorian,
Mhm.
ILM did a really sweet like post on their site, and then they tagged to it, showing every time they've worked with him, and they're like, the growth of ILM has been with Christopher Lloyd. He has been with us with every technological breakthrough we've ever done. He has been there, and we love growing old with him. And I'm like, you jerks.
That's fantastic.
Because they have. If you think about it, he has been there for every one of their big breakthroughs, like filming technology wise. He's been there.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I was like, oh, okay, that's sweet.
That is very sweet.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, that episode actually felt like a classic Clone Wars episode.
it did.
It very much did. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
I think either Merrick or I said that to the other one while we were watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, does this feel like? Yep.
Yeah. Go to this planet to do a thing. Well, we'll help you with this thing, but can you do this thing for us? Yeah, we'll do this thing. We discover a new thing, and all the things wrap up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very video game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I loved how the season finished. With the season finale,
Mhm.
You could have laid pretty good odds that Moff Gideon was gonna meet his end by the end of this episode. Like, I knew he was dead the minute they mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn in his presence. It's like, oh, they're gonna kill you this season
Yeah.
because they don't.
Although
have
you
a
want to hear
choice.
the conspiracy.
Yes.
So that Moff Gideon that dies doesn't have a mustache. The only time we've seen a Moff Gideon without a mustache is Clone Cylinder Moff Gideon in the background.
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think so either, but those
Yeah.
are fun.
There are a lot of those. I'm like, no, this is one of those things that's going to be pretty straightforward. You've got to kill Gideon off because Grand Admiral Thrawn is
Right.
the actual next
Yes.
real threat.
I do love how, and I find a fell victim to this, how that episode was called Spies, or the one before.
Yes.
And they had set it up to where, like, that's the armorer. Like, we have been dropping hints the whole time. And then when it clearly wasn't, I think it's either Filoni or Favreau said, no, it's called Spies because that's a reference to a passage and teachings of the book of Exodus, in which they are being led through the desert to spy the promised land. They're like, that's why it's called that. We're like, you dicks. You did that on purpose just to fuck with us.
Yeah, I did.
Well done.
I didn't think she was going to turn out to be a
I
double
have,
agent.
yeah, I have never, I have always felt that everything they've been doing with the armorer, especially this season, is all a red herring.
Mhm.
Although I do want to address yes, she has secrets. I don't think we know what they are yet.
The armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though I think I don't think they've said this. They intimated this though. I believe that the armor is Clan Saxon.
You'd have to remind me of all that.
So the major clans were Clan Vizsla, Clan Kreese, Clan Ren, and
Right.
Clan Saxon. Clan Vizsla, we were introduced during the Clone Wars. That was pre-Vizsla,
Right.
played by Jon Favreau.
Mm-hmm.
And pre-Vizsla tried to take the throne of Mandalore forcibly from Clan Kreese. Because
that-
Bo-Katan's sister was the queen.
This would have been in the Clone Wars.
Satine. Is that I was gonna say, yeah, that's
Satine.
the thing that
Satine
happens
Kreese,
in
yes.
Mhm.
Clone Wars that Obi-Wan and Ahsoka go to
Yeah.
Mandalore to deal with.
Yeah.
So there's that whole thing. Like pre is when we first see the Darksaber.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Clan Ren is Sabine and her family.
Mm-hmm.
Clan Saxon shows up during the siege of Mandalore, which is the end of Clone Wars, where Ahsoka is asked to return by Bo-Katan because Maul has usurped the throne through the help of Clan Saxon. And all of Clan Saxon has now repurposed their army so it's all red and black, and all of the helmets have horns. Gar Saxon was the
Right.
leader of Clan Saxon. And when that all went down, they put him in a hole. Like they stopped Maul, they overthrew Saxon's clan. There is a theory that the armorer was from Clan Saxon, which is why her helmet has horns.
Mm.
So
but
that could be the thing that they reveal next season is, oh, she's from Clan Saxon. That's why it was so important to her to bond with Bo-Katan to again heal those wounds, because that's all this has been about.
Yeah, you're the one that can bridge both sides.
Yep. Like that's why it was so important about Paz Vizsla, including him in the storyline, is when he was the heavy gunner.
Went out like a
Mando.
boss.
Yeah,
He did. Fuck yeah, he did. They gave him a proper Mandalorian death.
They did.
That was
up against,
fantastic.
he'd already thrown down against all the other troopers, and it took 3 Praetorian guards to do it,
Yeah,
to take him down.
together.
Yeah.
But his whole thing of Bo-Katan Kreese saved the son of the House of Vizsla. The House of Vizsla, Paz Vizsla, publicly goes, "Oh, I'm going to follow her. Whatever she does from this point."
Because he's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Or is it Mando? Well, I mean,
Mando stands up and says all this stuff. And,
but of course, everyone's like, well, of course you're going to follow.
yeah, and Paz Vizsla gets up and goes, "I'd like to say some words about these fucking people. Follow them."
Yeah, he's like, I think
like,
he says like,
"Oh,
they saved my son. I am going.
yeah." He's like, I had problems with this.
By the way, I
We've
think,
had problems with this.
remember when they're like, you need to train these, do we not take in younglings with those little bird thingies?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure they were eating one of them in the last episode.
Probably. You do what you can.
You know what?
Sometimes.
The galaxy's an ugly, mean place.
It is.
You know what?
People got to eat.
That's right.
That's a lot of Mandalorians to suddenly, find
That's
rations
true.
for.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one of the theories floating out there is she is from Clan Saxon. And it's having all of these clans back together to show that, no, we are really bringing back Mandalore.
Right.
So,
And I
think
know
it's
that was
her.
That was one of the complaints this season, is that it wasn't a lot of Din Djarin.
Yeah.
But it's called The Mandalorian, but like the story has to evolve. It's not like he's not in his own story. And it
Sure.
really was it always meant to be his whole story just because we've assumed that?
I think too, none of the events that happened in season 3 or in the finale would have happened if he had not been out there in season 1.
Yeah.
Taking jobs,
Right.
doing things for his culvert.
Right.
Like they have made a nice through line. It's like if Din had never met Grogu, we would not be in this position now.
Yeah, no, he'd still be out there doing just random jobs.
Yep.
Yeah, he took very specific side jobs, like side quests, because he was trying to help
Mm-hmm.
the baby.
Because he
And And then he ended up meeting a lot of people that he otherwise wouldn't have. And not only that, but I don't know, everyone comes together for a baby. So rather than those side quests having been more transactional, people become more invested in his situation.
Yeah, and thematically, when you think about it, this has always been the obvious path. He bonds with Grogu because he himself was a foundling. He understands that, and that is the tradition of, he believes it, of his people. You find a foundling, you protect them.
Yep.
That's what we do.
That's your kid.
But by finding a foundling that is of the Jedi, he is also healing the wounds of the Mandalorians and the Jedi who used to be allies. And then were pitted against each other. So his path since the first season, this is its inevitable next stage of, okay, we're not aggro against the few Jedi that are even still out there anymore. In fact, maybe it's them all realizing, oh, we all got played, all of us. And we were the two most powerful forces out there pitted against each other.
Yep.
Let's fix that kind of thing. So it's been leading up to it. I think we talked about this before, how some folks were annoyed that he just handed her the Darksaber. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He was hanging on to it. But by Creed, she earned it.
Yeah.
The monster beat
he
him.
Explained it when he did it.
Yeah. I mean, the moment she said something like, you can't give it to me. And he's like, I'm not. And I'm like, okay, good. Here it comes. Here comes the speech that I was hoping they were going to do.
Also, he wasn't that great with it anyway.
He didn't want it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about why it's, and it also gets into the history of the lightsaber within like the filming of the show, and then also what George Lucas had wanted. George Lucas never wanted the lightsaber to be wielded one-handed. Those were always supposed to be two-handed weapons.
Because he was inspired by samurai movies.
Yes. And so he said there's a weight to them. There's a physical weight to lightsabers that is mirrored in the Darksaber. The Darksaber is very heavy. And
I remember he was training one time and he was like, it feels like it keeps getting heavier because he's doing it wrong.
And they kind of touched on that in Rebels when Sabine was trying to learn how to use the Darksaber. Because she was being trained by a Jedi, and it's like, this feels weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's not the weapon that you think it is. This is not a fun, light, happy laser sword.
Yeah.
It
takes skill and finesse. And that's even, I don't know what it's like in the new role-playing game, because I haven't really read a whole lot about it. And from what I've read of the new comics, it's also not treated this way. But again, like Ryan will back me up on this. The old West End Games RPG, of which most of those books came right from Lucas's notes. That's why when I watch the shows now, I recognize vehicles that most people haven't seen. I was like, I saw that in Galaxy Guide 9, Tramp Freighters. I know exactly what that ship is. Because a lot of them are taken from like unused artwork, from the original trilogy. And in the West End Games, it just flat out says, only Force users should use lightsabers. They are dangerous in someone else's hands. They are more likely to kill themselves than to hurt anyone else. They are dangerous if you do not have Force sensitivity. They just are. They're not meant for you. Sorry. I think even in the rule book, they're like, if you're a non-Force sensitive character and using a lightsaber, like the act of turning it on is already like the most difficult check you can make, let alone wielding the damn thing. So I kind of like that that's being brought back a little bit.
Well, that makes sense because I don't know his full name. Pablo
Hidalgo.
Who
has the coolest job in Lucasfilm.
Is from West End Games.
Yes.
Like he was, that's why there is a direct link between the West End Games Star Wars RPG and everything we've seen in modern Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because he works for them.
Yeah.
I did not.
Or he worked for them. They don't
know
exist
that.
anymore, but yeah. I think that's also why Darkseid and
he works for Star Wars.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He
worked for West End Games.
He worked for West End. Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then came over to Lucasfilm.
I think that's also why a lot of the Inquisitors and the Darkseid adepts, why like their blades spin mechanically, because they're not really, and it makes sense. Vader and Palpatine are never going to treat they're never going to train dark side habits, or they're never going to teach them completely.
No.
It breaks the rule of master and apprentice. You can have pawns.
Mm.
Yeah, you can learn some dark side powers. That's fine.
Yep.
Dress all in black. I'll teach you, a little bit of lightning. That's
Yep.
it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to help you. Like if you try to throw down with me, I'm going to wipe the floor with you.
Still why I love Asajj Ventress so much.
Yeah.
Because I love the fact that part of her character arc was like, man, fuck this. I'm out. This is a boys' club.
I'm going back to my sister's house.
Yes. And she did.
Mhm.
God, you know how badly I want a Witches of Dathomir.
Yes, I do.
I want a Night Witches series so bad. That's why I'm going to pick up Jedi Survivor. Apparently, you get to play her more.
Oh, good.
Oh.
In the new one.
I now want to go back and play Fallen Order.
Have you played it before?
Never played it.
It's good. It is actually legit good.
Yeah, I've seen the end video where it's like, oh yeah, like I watched it with Matthew the other night.
Like how Vader's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that was the big surprise in the game in 2019. So people posted videos because it's like, suddenly there's Vader. No one told you there was going to be Vader, and you can't beat him.
It's run. Like the end boss is how fast can you get the fuck away from Darth Vader?
Yeah, people kept trying to fight him. It's like, how do you beat him? It's like,
You don't.
it's Darth Vader. You can't beat him in this game.
So
The only thing that you can do is run away. And if you don't do it fast enough, he's going to kill you.
So like years ago, again, like Ryan and I did this full VR experience in downtown Disney where you wear the helmet, you wear like a chest plate and arm plate so they mimic getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
You have this fake gun and you're meant to be rebels that are dressing as stormtroopers. I think you're on Mustafar.
You're on Mustafar.
Yeah, you're on Mustafar. And first off, it's really fucking cool. Like you look at your friend, you're like, and it changes your voice a little bit.
Mhm.
So you fucking sound like stormtroopers. You have different colors, like you're red stripe, he's got a green stripe or whatever. And it's fun, man, because you're like the probe droids shooting probe droids and you're being all cool. But like when you feel heat, they blast you with hot air or they blast you with cold air or the plates rumble, whatever you're doing. And you're having a great time. And at the end, like all hell breaks loose, but you're like, we got this, man. Like we're ducking and, whatever, shooting stormtroopers and, an Imperial goons or whatever. Then the place goes fucking dark. And all you hear is Mustafar, like the rumbling under you.
Mhm.
And then you hear, and that fucking red lightsaber appears. You are legit terrified because then you're basically told to unload and he's deflecting everything. And that's when you realize, oh, our point in the game now is to just run.
Just get the
And
fuck
even
away.
then, he's a fake character. Darth Vader isn't real. I knew consciously I was in a fucking video game, but my subconscious said, we're screwed. We're going to die. This is the worst thing to ever happen to me.
Second to last scene in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is very effective. Vader is very effective when done properly.
Yep.
Yes.
He's terrifying.
Absolutely.
And in the period between the Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, he's just supposed to be the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Just use him lightly, and it's enough to scare everybody.
Half the people, not even a big chunk of the Empire, don't even actually believe he's real. He's just someone that Moff's used the name to threaten people. Like, the Emperor is going to send Vader.
Sure.
And that's enough to get your battalion to straighten their act up.
Right. Well, it's sort of like
You want to read that? Sorry.
Bex says that her daughters are playing Lego Star Wars right now. And so the 9-year-old is trying to help people in whatever mission they're doing. The 6-year-old just murdered 13 Jawas. And the 9-year-old is yelling at her not to give in to the dark side.
Siths aren't good. Well, yes, this is true.
This is true. They are snappy dressers.
Oh my God.
They are.
They are.
For a split second, I went, Jawas? No, they're not. Oh, Sith. Yes.
No.
Sith
I
are
feel like
snappy dressers.
Jawas dress very comfortably.
Yeah. We talk about that baby.
Well, yeah. What do you want to talk about?
The way his first words are kind of the way.
Mhm.
He kind of says, "This is the way."
I don't know that that's what I heard, but he definitely started using like some language of words.
And he force more now.
Yes.
He what?
He uses the force more now.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, that's
Yes.
Yes.
No.
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 Oh my god,
No.
that fucking robot.
Yes.
He just became so fucking insolent. Like,
Yes.
this isn't working for me.
Yes.
You also see him. He's a little bit taller.
Grogu,
Mm-hmm. Like you can actually like
a little bit.
see a little bit of neck over his cowl hood
So in
thing.
2
And-
years, he grew a quarter of an inch.
That's a lot for someone that like percentage wise. That's
I
big.
guess that's true.
And then there's a scene where you see him walking, and like you can actually like see that like steps are happening as opposed to like just like his robe is shuffling across.
That's
the
true.
floor.
Yeah.
He's growing up,
Mm-hmm.
my baby boy. It was extra cute.
I liked his fight. I liked his fight with the kid who just now earned their helmet.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's
Jeez.
like he can't figure it out until Dad's like, "This is what you have to do. Like, go ahead." And
It's like,
Grogu
no.
just
It's like, go right ahead. Show him what Uncle Luke taught you.
right,
fine.
yeah.
And I noticed that even though he is using the force more, I'm trying to remember this scene with the other kid, but to my memory, he never really uses it to attack. He only uses it to deflect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the only time we've really ever seen him use it to attack was in the first season when he starts to force choke what's her name when she's beating up Dad.
Yeah, that's true.
He's force choking her because she starts to like do the neck thing and Jin kind of freaks out. He's like, kid, stop.
No, she's friend.
Yeah,
Fine.
friend, and he goes, oh. That was actually kind of the scary thing. That's the first time you ever see, Grogu use the Force ever, and it's a dark side ability.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, is that foreshadowing or? Well, it is kind of because eventually, like Ahsoka says, like if you're not training him, he's dangerous. Like,
Mhm.
Yep. He's just going to use these powers.
Right.
How-
Because a lot
Yeah,
of
they
the
come
Jedi,
to-
the Jedi training isn't about how to use the Force. It's more like spiritual and like
When you should use the Force.
moral, but,
Yep.
but
I can actually
focused.
hear Ryan saying it's all about control. You must learn control. It is the first power you learn in the West End game. It never made sense. It should have been sense instead of control, and then alter, control, sense, alter.
Okay.
You know what? The 1% of people that got that are like, fuck yeah.
Okay.
It's me, Pablo Hidalgo, Ryan, and Eric Troutman. That's it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he just wrote sense.
I did enjoy like all the little bits with Grogu this season. I felt
Mhm.
like they were used to give appropriate levity to the show when it needed it, because usually it was like giving him the IG-88 or IG-11 as a suit to run around and just say yes, no, yes. I mean, I was on the floor laughing.
But I think it's IG-12 now.
It is IG-12. Was IG-12. It's now back to being IG-11.
Oh, okay.
Because IG-12 was the exosuit. IG-11 is the actual droid.
Wait, is the droid back? Did I miss something? He's just a suit now, right?
No, he got rebuilt. Like, did you miss the very ending?
Was it like a post-credits thing?
No.
Wait, they finished remodeling it?
He stops
remember
being a
him
suit?
I remember him going, "Oh, I just need that head."
Yes, and he
Was
brought the head back and had them put it together with the remaining parts of the body.
And he was Murderbot.
And
No, that's halfway.
And
that's
then
earlier
they
in the
turned him
season.
back into IG-11, who is now the marshal of
Right.
Navarro.
Yes. Okay. I guess I don't really know
That's okay.
when a droid has a designation and when it is changed and how it can go back. But that was what was implied.
Well, it's because
there
they
is
still
that
haven't
you
given
brought
droid
back-
rights. That's part of it.
Yep. If
They are-
people just listen to Lizzo and Jack Black more,
They really are going to have to track that one day. Like Star Wars one day is going to have the reckoning of that.
Yes, they are.
I mean, they touch on it in Clone Wars, don't they? No, they
Not
probably touch
enough.
on clone rights.
They
I-
do touch on clone rights a lot. They're touching on clone rights in Bad Batch.
Bad Batch a lot.
Yes. Oh, I still haven't watched that one. I forgot.
It's heavy. This for me. This is season 4, Bad Batch, or is it also 3?
Neither. This is season 2.
I guess with Bad Batch, they're shorter episodes, but they're longer seasons. That's why my brain does that.
It's because they're half-hour episodes, so there's 16 episodes instead of 8.
So for me, the most recent season of Bad Batch starts really slow. Didn't really hold my attention, but then it kicks in like around episode 10. Then it's for me, and then it was on.
Well, I think that might have been part of it. Is we watched the first episode, and then Christian was like, "No, let's watch this." Like every night is like the battle of what both people want to watch.
So the first 2 episodes of season 2 of Clone Wars are a 2-parter. So like it's one story. Bad Batch, yeah. Episode 3 is where they grabbed me because it wasn't the Bad Batch, it was Commander Cody.
Right.
And Crosshair.
Ooh.
And this is the first time that we've seen Commander Cody since, he tried to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
Not to be confused with Captain Rex. Yeah. Commander Cody.
Okay.
Mhm.
So like that episode because we started watching this season and we're not all the way through it either. I've had the big thing spoiled for me, so I'm like keeping that out of my mouth.
Because she hasn't seen it yet.
Right. And I don't know who else hasn't seen it yet, and it's a big fucking thing.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, the episode with Commander Cody and Crosshair is Commander Cody kind of looking around at the Empire going, I don't think I made the right decision. I don't think I had a decision to make, but now I think I haven't made the right decision.
Right.
And
this isn't where I want to be.
Yeah, they go on a mission together, and Cody tries to resolve it in a way that makes sense for the character of Commander Cody and everything that we've known about him.
Yeah.
And it goes south, and he leaves the Empire. That's when Cody goes, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me. I was watching Rogue One with you and with Denise and Christian a few nights ago or whatever, and I had this moment of like, because everyone's like, well, where did the Death Troopers come from? Like, they show up in Rogue One. It's the first time you see them. Then I'm like, not just the suit color, but even like they have a little brow over their helmet. I'm like, those are like evolutions of Crosshair's uniform.
Yeah, it does.
And then I'm like, wait a minute, are these fuckers like they're clearly tweaking with clones still? Are these the last? And they're replicas of Crosshair?
Yeah.
They don't really talk. They're completely loyal. They have no problem killing anyone they're told to kill. And they're, better at everything.
Yep.
Anyway, that was me like, are they like the last shot at clones before they like forget it conscripts the whole way?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have much more. What do you think season 4 of Mando is just going to be all Bo-Katan?
I don't know. I like how season 3 ended. I like them.
That felt like a finale to me. I know that they were talking about like, side quests, more side quests, like just, mission of the week style insinuation, but it also felt like the end. I don't know.
I mean, it's not. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of like jokingly call season 4 Mandalorians. I found that ending kind of cool. I like the idea of Jin just like, he's got his little cabin by the lake or whatever. He's putting his feet up. Still won't take his helmet off. It's fucking weird. And Grogu's playing with its food in the air. And it's just like.
Very much the ending to a Western.
Yep.
I tend to think that our season 4 is going to be The Mandalorian is now Bo-Katan.
I think so. I don't think we're done with, Pedro Pascal, but he's not.
We might be. We might be as a lead character in so much as he might be wanting to do other things,
I think it might be. I think it's going to become a much more ensemble show than
Yeah.
The Mandalorian.
which is also fine because I want more info about Bo-Katan. I want more stuff about the armor.
Mhm.
She's great. I
I
like her.
like the idea of the show about rebuilding Mandalore
Mhm.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, both the Imperial Remnant of what's left and the New Republic may not think that's the coolest thing ever.
Sure.
Because most of the people running the New Republic are going to have some memories about, like, you know, the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War. If you're in your early 40s, you lived through all of it.
hmm
So if you're in a position of any power in the New Republic, chances are you grew up in war, of which the Mandalorians were a big fucking part of it.
Mhm.
So you might, you know, you may not like the idea of these folk getting back together and rearming and fixing their planet and returning to the old ways, as
Sure.
it were. Yeah.
Unless it, especially since, well, that might actually provide a balance to the other two forces
Right.
that's sorely needed. But
Yes.
anyway,
Beck says that there isn't any confirmation on Pedro having been signed up for a season 4, so we don't
Yeah,
know.
who knows?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, should we take a break?
yeah,
Yes.
and come back with Picard.
Yeah, that
Let's
sounds
do that.
very good. We will be right back.
Pew. Rude.
So all of those really fun jokes and ad-libbing I was doing, it was for an audience of 2. My 2 friends.
Yay. Yay for us. Sorry, listeners.
Everyone else, get chuffed.
That doesn't mean what I think you think it means.
It doesn't. I know. Don't do that. Oh my God.
Anyway.
I hate This American Life wet mouth. That's the name of the episode. This American Life's wet mouth. And I wonder why I couldn't get this show on Kabu. Well, why did I want to? It'd probably be the lead up into. Hey, welcome back. We're going to talk about Star Trek Picard Season 3, aka the Thanos season.
Redirecting. Oh boy, who's going to start?
I mean, look, I already said I'm in the bag for this show to begin with. And nostalgia is a hell of a drug. But I also think it was a very well done season regardless, though.
I don't think it was a nostalgia-centric as everyone expected it would be the moment they said we're bringing back the old cast.
Yeah, they did not go as fan servicey as they could have, which was probably good. When they did it, it served the story.
I think that if they had, I'm not sure that any of the cast members would have signed up.
You know what? You're right. They were like, we either treat this as the goodbye we never got to do, the one last voyage, or we're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there needs to be growth in our characters, or fuck it.
Right.
And there were a goodly number of flashback scenes, but they were for shit we'd never seen before.
Yeah. And for shit you needed for the story.
Yes.
They weren't just to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're drawing parallel lines between then and now, and how they learned and how they're going to apply that information today to save themselves from contracting nebula.
From the Borg.
At no point did I feel like we were getting rehashed or lukewarm versions of Geordi or Data or Riker or Troy or Crusher. It was I'm glad to see that the years have changed you. Right. And that because of that, your characters are as interesting or more interesting than they were in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I would gladly pay Paramount money for a show starring Worf and Rafi.
If Legacy happens, I don't think we've seen the end of Worf.
Legacy is happening.
I think Legacy is happening. It's like how they kept us saying, like, well, there might be a Pike show. We're gonna keep thinking about it. You keep supporting it.
No, they've all.
No, they teased a Pike show for a lot. Like it was like the actors were like, "Whoa, you never know."
Yeah,
that's what I mean. The same thing that's happening with Legacy now.
They've said it's going to happen. They just haven't made there's been no huge fanfare.
Paramount hasn't said it.
True.
The two main producers have said yes.
That's right.
But
Kurtzman has said it.
But as we know, Paramount is shit about promoting it, and
they have their issues sometimes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, but their issues since 2019 have not been giving money to the people that are making Star Trek. Because once Discovery was on the books and made them money, Kurtzman has said, it's like they went, this is great. We look forward to the season next year. And it wasn't until I went, oh, this is an 18-month production schedule. It's not next year. It's in a year and a half.
Yeah.
They went, well, what are we going to do? We need more Star Trek. Funny you should say that.
Good news.
I have a bunch of other shows that I'd like to produce. Here's a bag of money.
Yeah. I still feel like somewhere years ago, Paramount was like, man, I wish we had a shared universe of Disney buying Lucasfilm. That sure would be great. And someone went, you own all of Star Trek and you don't have to share it with anyone.
Dill holes.
It's not like there's a Lucasfilm version of Star Trek.
Nope.
They're like, oh, yeah. No, this season was
also the guy who invented it, but also kind of sucks, is dead. So, who's gonna fucking get mad at you if you do it the way he doesn't like?
Look, let's make his kid an EP and cut him a check every month.
Yeah, that seems to be working so far.
Yeah.
Rod's fine.
Yeah, he's doing fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like he's ever going to complain about something. And by his own admission, he said, like, look, I know my dad wasn't perfect. So anyway,
That's why I
that's
didn't
neither here
bring
nor
him into
there
it.
when it comes to Star Trek season 3 of Picard was.
It did take me a bit to get into.
Oh, it didn't for me. I was in it immediately.
I'm curious because earlier in the season you had said you're like, oh man, I love this person's storyline and this person's storyline way better than I like whatever it is they're doing with Picard. Before I was probably less than halfway through this season at that point, but I'm curious. I was looking forward to seeing how you felt about it now that it's made it through to the end.
Do you remember which ones I was more interested in?
Just other characters' arcs. I mean, at that point, it was probably the shit going on with Rafi, and I want to say the stuff with Jack because like you could tell pretty early on that like, oh, something's up with Jack.
I was more curious about what's the thing with Jack. Like, what is it?
Don't
like
know if we'll ever get him back.
No. Like what's his MacGuffin? What's the mystery behind him? So maybe I had more fun trying to unpack that mystery. And by episode 3, I was just Team Shaw the whole way. I liked him the first time I saw him because I kind of loved that he put Riker and Picard in their place.
Oh man,
I loved it.
It's one thing to like put somebody in their place and be like, look, just because you guys are fucking heroes and legends doesn't mean you can just show up anywhere and like pull the rug out from under me on my own ship.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right about that, but he was such a dick at
he
first.
Was
like above and beyond, like I answered my own question as though he had a personal vendetta against them already.
Right.
Yep.
Which we do eventually learn he did.
I just rewatched that scene where he's talking to Jack in the fake 10 in the fake 10 forward, the guidance one on Earth.
Yep.
When he's like, you know what your dad was doing during this fight? You know where your dad was? And he goes, he does that point at him. He was the one killing us. Oh my God, his arc
is lead Borg ship.
Yeah, well, the only ship.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Was it 40 ships against one Borg cube?
It was the fleet.
It was the fleet that could get
cube.
to Wolf 359 and the cube.
Yeah, I have no notes about Liam Shaw. Like that entire arc
is a whole ass arc.
I saw people prior to his death that have to live this life, and I get why they're angry. We're starting to get angry at the character and the writers that Shaw kept dead naming 7 of 9, essentially. And I was like, it should make you mad. You should also know why he's doing it. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's not because he or the writers are trying to be mean. There's a reason he does it. You don't have to like it, but you also can't expect a character to pivot in one episode. That's not character growth. That's not how story works.
Right. No, now that it's all said and done, everyone can see that the reason he had to be such a fucking ass in the beginning is so that he can, learn that, things are nuanced and that people, deserve respect regardless of, whatever your personal quibbles with them might be.
He had to go through 9 episodes of growth so that his last dying breath was, the ship is yours, Captain 7. That's what he had to go through.
Todd Stashwick. I want to name him specifically. Yes. He played Liam Shaw.
He's also great in 12 Monkeys. I cannot recommend that show enough.
I've heard that. This is also not the first time we've seen Todd Stashwick in Star Trek.
Did he do a Star Trek before?
He was a Romulan operative from Enterprise.
That's right.
Huh.
You know what that means, Bean? It's been a long road.
Oh my God. I was not setting you up for that. But anyway.
I appreciate that because between him and my husband, it never stops.
By the way, can we point out that during Frontier Day, the anthem for the Federation's Frontier Day is Archer's theme?
Yeah.
Burn it all down.
Yeah.
God damn right. I was honestly expecting a musical version of Faith of the Heart. I was really waiting for that. And it's not. It's Archer's theme, which is fine. Okay, good.
But yeah, Todd Stashwick is great. Like, he was fantastic in this. Motherfucker, he's Draken?
Yeah.
He's Dr. Draken?
Who?
Also a huge gaming nerd.
Yes, he was Dr. Draken in the live action. There's a live action?
What are
Kim
you?
Possible. I am losing
Oh,
my shit over Kim Possible.
So did you
okay.
see
I
the
want you
makeup
to
of him?
understand that
I've never seen it, so I don't know who that is, but I'm glad that that's
you've
exciting.
never seen Kim Possible?
No, I think that show was out when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I was out in my 30s and I watched it. I watched it with zero shame. Zero shame. I watched
When I
Kim
was in
Possible.
my 20s, I
I forgot they did a
lived
live action one.
close to my little cousins who were like elementary school age, and that's what they watched. So I don't know. I'm like, that's a baby show for babies. I'm not watching that.
I'm watching Baby Show.
But it must be good because there's whole drag performances based around it.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. So anyway, we should probably
Yeah, back to Todd Stashwick.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a huge nerd. He's a huge fan of Star Trek. So he's just as excited to be on the bridge of the ship and be a part of this. And I think where we really got to see that is in Captain Shaw's moment where he meets Geordie LaForge and
Commodore LaForge.
Commodore LaForge.
Yes.
And the grease monkey from Chicago is like, this is the best engineer in Starfleet. I'm going to lose my shit right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose all my shit.
This was
I'm so sorry. My ship looks so bad right now, Commodore. I don't normally keep it like this. I promise I keep it dipped off shape.
Yeah.
I polish the warp drive myself with the toothbrush.
And I like how Jordy says, if this wasn't an end of the universe thing, I would love to geek out with you about engines and starships. And he goes, okay.
Yep.
I'm convinced that he was inspired by Chris Farley's skit in SNL when he interviews people.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he interviews Paul McCartney, you remember when you were in the Beatles? That was awesome.
Pardon me. Yeah, that was pretty great.
There were so many little things that, I don't know, made the series feel a little bit more special. And maybe that it made it special if you have been there with these characters since the beginning, or maybe if you discovered them into adulthood and they've still meant something to you. Little things, how like LeVar Burton's daughter's Misha Barton.
Yep.
How like she didn't realize that when she like stands at ease, she does a similar hand position as LeVar Burton does, and didn't realize it because she's always behind him on those shots until like I think the director said, "Hey, look at this," and asked her, "Are you doing this on purpose? That's a cool character choice." And she's like, "No, that's just how I would stand." And like watching LeVar Burton tear up, and then she tears up. You know, she mentions like they even did that the Ready Room when she talks about like the first time, like my dad saw me in the uniform, he started to cry because like, you know, and now they carpooled every day together. Even if his call time was hours later, he's like, when am I ever going to get to do this again?
Right. Also, you guys, I didn't know that was his real daughter.
The engineer.
Oh,
yeah, that's his real daughter.
Oh my God. Actual human tears.
Yeah. The two.
Oh, and the woman that plays his other daughter apparently is now like, they're like, we had her over for Thanksgiving. Like, no, she's basically my sister.
Yeah, that is Ashiel Sharp Chestnut.
Yeah.
Sydney LaForge. Yeah, the two LaForge girls.
Crash LaForge.
Yeah, are not. Yeah, they're not actually related, but they have come to like, oh yeah, you're part of the family now.
Yeah,
that is so goddamn precious.
Yeah, I don't know how or why, but I am glad that this is been rising more and more and more with more eyes on Star Trek. They've all kind of adopted this. It's like, no, you've been on Star Trek, you're family now.
Mm-hmm.
You've been on the ship, you know what it's like. Like you have served in Starfleet, you're part of the family. And it's every actor has said this. And like Stashwick has been, it's like, yeah, I'm part of the Star Trek family.
And Metalis has said that if they do Legacy, he's like, we have come up with a way to bring Shaw back, and it's not the way you think.
Cool.
But there is a way we could have him back. So, I mean, whatever. That'd be cool.
Yeah, Legacy, like I appreciated how they wrapped everything up. I'm glad that Amanda Plummer was the bulk of the villain
Right.
in the series, because if it had just rushed to it's the Borg, I would have gone
Yeah.
again.
And I liked this type. I liked this spin on the Borg where she knows like we're dying.
And it makes sense. It's like, okay, so that means this was the end of that Borg, which is why we saw a different Borg that they interacted with in season 2.
Yeah, which is essentially an alternate timeline Borg.
Yep.
They pretty much said
great.
like that's what it is.
Yep.
That's
and it's now headed by Agnes Girardi.
Yeah.
Like, great. Love that for them. That they'll get along fine.
Right. Yeah. I had fun trying to unpack mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that thing that writers will often fall victim to. And I should have known better going into it, as I tried to make it too clever. The whole thing of like, you know, when Metalis is like, they're not hiding in a nebula. And I'm like, otherwise like, ooh, is it fluidic space? Did they conquer speed? Is that what? And like, no, it's Jupiter. I'm like, well, fuck, that also makes sense. And it's way easier, less convoluted. It does not require backstory.
It's also right next door.
Also right next door.
Yep. It's like, well, yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I can see Earth from here.
Yeah. It was the goodbye that I feel like the cast and the fans, I always hate to say like deserved or earned, because that creates a sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
But you always felt kind of robbed by Nemesis. To me, if they had ended with all good things and we never got movies, okay, because they literally they go off into the sunset. And I'm like, all right, you knew they were going to get movies, but if they didn't, that's not a bad send-off.
Sure.
Nemesis is a god-awful send-off for that cast.
It is.
It's awful. And you always felt cheated. And you felt as a fan, and just from narratively, you're like, you just felt cheated.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to say that we were given this gift of this ending without going into, it's like we earned, we've earned it as fans, or we deserve it as fans. It's like, no, but it is certainly done with the intent to, with the fans in mind.
Yeah, it's created and produced and acted by people who kind of all felt the same way as fans. Even the actors that were like, had to be convinced to come back to Star Trek. Even like Michael Dorn was like, once I saw where they were going and I realized, oh, this was the send-off that I didn't know I needed to as a performer with this character.
Fuck. He had some of the best lines in this season.
Him and I know you're fine without having a Riker thing, but I would love to just give me like a quick little, like, I don't know, a quick little half-hour vignette of those two just interacting with each other. Mm-hmm. And I will join and make it a three-way.
Yes.
Threesomes. Like, do you even listen to yourself?
It was great.
His arc was pretty sad.
Worf's?
No.
Oh, Riker's. That. Go ahead.
It was strange because we visit them on their current home planet in season 1, and they're sad, but they seem to have kind of dealt with it. In as much as one can. With the loss of a child, but I didn't expect it to be this, for him to have this story arc of like, yeah, man, I was dead inside and that was killing my wife, so I left.
Yep.
I also
dark for him.
I also didn't expect the part when she says, "I tried to shield you from the pain with my abilities," and he says, "That wasn't fair. You never let me grieve for our son. You took that away from me."
About that.
And I'm like, and I can see both, like, as these characters, both doing something out of a desire to love and protect the other, and they're harming each other doing it.
Yep.
I
think that was that.
They've always had a tumultuous.
But that's not, I don't think that was a tumultuous moment. That was, we have both been through so much. What can I do to ease it? And in doing that, you made it worse.
that is part of, a tumultuous relationship. Like,
Okay.
it's like, sometimes you mean well, but you're still making it worse.
Sure.
I do think that that initially is kind of what put me off the series at the very beginning, is that I felt like I recognize these characters, but they are acting wildly out of character.
Mm.
And then that became, you're all acting wildly out of character because you no longer have a roadmap of how you're supposed to treat one another.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, now I give you that because you don't know that you're all kind of dicks at times.
Right. Or
And-
you lack that rudder. There's even a part, some of Worf's actions and a lot of the characters in this final season of Picard made me think of an episode of DS9. I think it's right before like the invasion of DS9 and Worf's on the station and he doesn't know his place. He doesn't know where he belongs.
Right.
And he's talking to O'Brien and he's like, did you ever, and they were talking about basically best of both worlds, the essential. And Worf was like, those were good times. And O'Brien's like, are you kidding me? Like, it was chaotic. I didn't know anything. And he was like, no, we had a goal. We were like warriors of old. Like I had a path. And he doesn't have one in this, in that arc of DS9 for a while. And a lot of the characters, that's where we meet them in Picard. I mean, we first see Beverly in Picard and the first time you see her, it's weird to see basically like, I'm gonna shoot you in the face crusher, where she's got a phaser that she pumps like a shotgun and disintegrates you. And it felt jarring until you realize why.
Phaser, that's a disruptor.
Yeah. And it's very jarring until you basically, she's like, I'd already lost one son to Starfleet again. And now I had the actual son of legendary Jean-Luc Picard. He was always going to be the soft target to get you. So I've been on the run, didn't tell you forever, and I did whatever it took to keep him alive.
Yeah, she's had a hard 20-something years.
Well, that part where she's running tactical, spoilers, in the final episode, and the first time they do the strafing run, and she's just like, Papa, she's just tagging that cube.
And they stop and look
They
at her
all
like,
look back at her, and
"What?"
she's like, it was an interesting 20 years. You know? They all look at her like, damn.
It's like, did you just unload everything we have?
Yeah,
great.
for the most part, I appreciated the way that the characters were different than you expect.
Yeah.
Because again, it's been 20-something years, and we don't yet know all of the things that they've been up to in that time.
Right.
Except for kind of Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of.
And it's the same with when Worf is reintroduced, he seems like the opposite end of the spectrum where he's like, oh, I'm now at peace.
Yeah.
I have a regular purpose. I am doing this thing.
I am a subcontractor.
Yeah. I'm good.
Yes, yeah, he has he's gone to therapy.
Yeah.
Slayer of Galra.
Much to the annoyance
And
of
I have
Rafi.
prepared chamomile tea. Do you want sugar?
That whole the introduction, that's where I went, this is the show I want. I just want a Rafi and Worf show.
Yeah, he became fun in this iteration. And I don't feel like I ever disliked Worf or found him uninteresting. I don't think that that's correct, but I don't know that I ever found him to be fun.
Right.
And most of the time, if there was laughter around Worf, the character, it was at him. Yeah, because he was so off.
He was the perennial straight man in every single
and also like the
situation.
perennial like, I don't belong in this culture and I don't belong in this culture either. Like, no matter which way you try to identify, you're always going to be odd man out.
Weirdly enough, it really wasn't until his relationship with Jadzia where she kind of called him out on that. She's like, will you stop? Like, I get it. You're an honor. You want to practice the old ways, but you know what? We're on a space station on the edge of a wormhole. I can't actually make this wax from melting down the lard of this one fucking animal, so they're going to get replicated. Deal with it. He was like, all right.
Yeah, and he's also not living in a Klingon community.
Yeah, that's
it's just not. No one else is doing it this way. You're just being no.
Well, his is
stubborn. I don't know. There is
clinging
something to be
to
said for
his-
hanging on.
Yeah, well,
it.
it's part of he's connecting with his culture the only way that he knew how.
yeah. And even though it's a fun line in Picard, I think it's the first time he acknowledges son to, I forgot the parents' full names, but to son to
Sergei
Rashenko.
Rashenko.
Sergei Rashenko. It's the first time
Really?
he includes them along with Worf, son of Moog, House Martok, son of Rashenko. Like it's the first time he acknowledges
Son
that.
of Sergei.
Son of Sergei,
House of Rashenko.
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There-
Sergei, who is a what is it? Don't call me sir. I used to work for a living. I
Yeah.
was an enlisted. He was a chief also.
Yeah.
Don't call me sir.
Classic.
Yeah, he was a CPO.
Mhm.
Also, the phaser in the Batleth.
Yep.
First off, it's a Metlith or something.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh.
weird. It's a different weapon they made
Oh.
just for this.
Fuck. I didn't realize it was so heavy.
The handle, pull the handle. You had a phaser the whole time, and I just thought swords are fun. Well, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
No.
Like
Swords
I
are
said,
fun.
But also just the fact that he would make a choice, not just because like, oh no, this is the weapon of my people. No, because it's more fun than a phaser. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
what, yeah, Worf had a lot of growth, like clearly, and we got to see it because we knew what he was like before. The fact that his last act on screen is hugging Rafi, it's like he
Mhm.
hates hugs.
He
He
never
hates
instigate
them.
hugs.
I don't know. For me, it was just the fact that like he's the one who has to talk down this hot-headed person who just wants to
Sure.
go in
Yeah.
guns a blazing.
But that,
Yep.
but Cable, you're right. That last moment with Rafi, I was like, he's gonna hug her. Like,
Yeah.
I saw it like 5 seconds. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna hug her. And
As
I remember
soon as
thinking,
he
like,
did
this
that.
is a big deal.
Yeah. Like that's again like
But
these.
he also hugged everybody else when when
No,
all...
they hugged.
They hugged
him.
him. He has never instigated a hug.
Mm, okay.
Worf is not a
People
hugger.
hug Worf.
That's
Worf
not to say
doesn't
that
hug people.
Klingons don't hug. They are a passionate.
I hear you. I
Yeah.
understand.
You know, there's that line in TNG when he's like talking to Guy and Klingons don't laugh. He's like, no, you don't laugh.
It's like,
I have heard Klingons give belly laughs that'll knock your socks off.
yep,
You're
curl your
stick
hair.
in the mud. Yeah.
Yeah, that moment of Worf hugging Rafi is the same kind of tiny moment that says so much, like Paz Vizsla going, I'm with Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Oh, yay, you're with her. And it's like, oh, you don't know what the fuck that just did. That just
Yeah.
undid 40 years of anger.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's super clever. It made me go, oh shit. It made me go back and go all the way back to like First Contact. I kind of love how they pulled off the Borg this time without making me think like, come on, that's bullshit. With the Borg developing basically biological
Oh, yeah.
coding.
Yep. Totally makes sense.
Because I never realized in Voyager, unless Seven was plugged in, she didn't hear the collective.
Nope.
Mhm.
The only one who's ever heard him out of the collective has been Picard in fucking First Contact. So like they made it work. They didn't make me think like, you pulled that out of your ass. I'm like, well, you did, but you made it work through what's already been established.
Yep.
So nicely done.
Canonical technobabble.
Yeah, sure. You can be outlandish as you want as long as you follow your own rules. And when you
Mhm.
break
Yeah.
them, you got to make it make sense
Yeah,
to
sure.
break it. And they did.
So speaking of Seven, let's talk about Seven.
I'm so happy for Captain Seven.
Considering that this series is really like, as much as it has been about Picard, it has been about 7 of 9.
Because she's one of the characters in Star Trek that just really got done dirty, right?
She was, I mean, there's no arguing with the fact that when she was brought on to Voyager, she was brought on as eye candy.
Right.
Mhm.
I'll say like
What
maybe T'Pol had it worse.
They were
the
equally
actress,
treated that way.
but-
What people
Oh,
didn't
God.
expect was that Jerry Ryan had acting chops. That's what I think caught people off guard. And there's a whole nother episode. There's a whole nother show we could do about what happened with her and Kate Mulgrew during the show. I'm sure they're buddies now, but
Mhm.
they were kind of played off each other by producers, and it
Mhm.
was ugly. And it was a shitty thing for Berman and Braga to do.
Mhm.
Shocking no one.
Mm.
Mhm.
But Yeah, by the end of Voyager, she'd really come into her own as an interesting character. So the whole idea of the Fenris Ring, that was all cool. That all worked. I love that also clearly Riker doesn't realize that she and Picard have gone on adventures already. Because when Seven unloads on her, she's like, just what the hell are you doing? And she just tears into Picard. And he's like, whoa, out of line. You're speaking to an admiral. And she's like, I'm talking to a friend who's out of line.
Mm-hmm.
And then Riker has a look of like, oh.
It's like, okay.
Oh, okay. I'm going to shut the fuck up then.
Like, it's been genius having her part of Picard's story so much because out of all of Starfleet, they're the two former Borg.
Right.
And
that's true. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
I didn't think about it until she showed up in season 1. As soon as she was on screen, I'm like, fuck, why didn't this ever dawn on me before? It's like, of course you would pair these characters. They're both Borg. When she walks in and is like, yeah, I know you as both Picard and Locutus. It's like, I know your service record is as...
But I heard you in my mind at one time as Locutus. She would have known Locutus before she knew Picard.
When did she leave the collective?
By Voyager. And Voyager didn't start until TNG was like 2 years off the air.
Okay.
So she would have heard.
She was part of the collective when
she was a child.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When she would have heard the voice of Locutus in her mind. So I think when she first meets Picard, she's like, yeah, I know you. Yeah, I've heard you. I've heard you since I was a child, basically, in my mind.
And they both have relationships with the Borg.
I don't know why that never occurred to me when I had said before, like earlier. I think I even said it on air. I'm like, I don't like. When would they have met, and like, why would they have become friends?
They're trauma bonded.
They are.
They're 100% trauma bonded.
They became friends through season 1 of Picard.
Through Hugh.
Yeah.
Who Picard saw as a friend and Seven saw as like a family member.
Okay, I remember them already having an established relationship when we see them together for the first time in Picard.
No,
maybe not close.
They have
like
clearly
they
heard of
now.
each other. He would have heard of Seven of Nine. You know who Jean-Luc Picard is.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
But they never met.
They had never met until that.
That's I didn't remember that.
And it's why
Does she call him Locutus in season 1?
She calls him Locutus when they are talking later in his quarters, but when she beams onto his ship, she calls him Picard.
Okay, that's right. When they're talking, she's like, I've known you as
Like, because she is 7 of 9, she knows well enough that she's not going to call him Locutus. She's like, you're not Locutus. I know who Locutus is.
Yeah,
that was when you were Borg. You're not currently Borg.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do that.
Their paths are different.
Yeah. But
which is interesting because she still wants to be known as 7 of 9.
Because she has been 7 of 9 longer than she was Annika Hansen.
Yeah, and she has integrated that part of her existence as being her. Which is why you've never... I think they've even brought up in Voyager before, like, we could remove these. And she's like, I don't want you to.
Right.
This is what I am.
Actually, I think they can't.
They can't? I thought they could.
They removed everything that they could. Everything that is still part of her is integrated too closely to her actual organs that it would kill her to remove them.
Oh, I thought like in the final season they had figured it out and she's like, no.
No, she's used...
I thought...
No, I mean, that's fine. Yeah,
I think.
I seem to remember, for whatever the fuck that's worth, that at some point they did say, like, the technology has advanced and we could remove those now if you wanted to.
Maybe in Picard they had
true.
mentioned
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And then at that point she declined.
Right.
Because they are part of who she is.
God, we should wrap up soon. I just realized. I think it goes a long way to say that we all enjoyed Picard season 3 for various reasons.
And if Star Trek, like, I thought Star Trek Legacy was, I didn't know what it was going to be before. I thought it was just, we're going to rehash stuff. If it is fucking Captain 7 of 9 and the crew of the Enterprise G.
Rafi
I'm
and
done.
Jack.
Yes.
and-
Okay.
Hell yeah.
and
Crash.
Crash, and then I always forgot her name. The woman,
Any of the LaForge
the
girls.
alien that's got like kind of ridges and kind of green veins.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name.
I don't either.
I remember Tefel because
we just
she
call
gets
her Angina.
disintegrated, which was a real bummer.
Her character's name is Ensign Esmar.
Yeah. And
And-
then they're gonna bring back whatever's.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, we can't go into it now, but I'd love to talk about how I was not looking forward to seeing Data back again, and now I actually like this final incarnation.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk
I know.
about
I love a
it.
Data that knows, like, no, I'm happy I'm aging. I'm happy that I'm going to die. Like, I have finally done it. I have finally done what needed to be done. I am the perfection of Sung's vision.
Yep. And
It was just really fun to get to see that character emote.
Mhm.
He has played other characters that are just somehow connected to the Data character, but Data himself,
getting to emote. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
He's got one of
that
my favorite lines in the series when he's in the shuttle with Jordan. He says, I hope we die quickly. Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was a good ending.
It was. Which is what we need to do now.
Yeah.
Have a
June
good ending.
15th can't get here soon enough.
I
God
know.
damn
Stranger
it.
World season 2. Nice. Well, with that, I am Aron Doran.
I am Bean Rita.
And I am Cable Hashitani.
We will talk to everybody next week. Bye. Swords are fun.